okay, that over the last 4 years particularly, we've all seen some things that were probably frustrating and upsetting and stuff like that, right?
100%.
So have you, even in the Torah movement, I mean, you guys have been doing this longer than all of us, okay? Were there things that you started doing that you no longer do now, and you discovered they weren't true, right? And so you have to adapt that into your story now, right? So undoubtedly, I can only imagine this would be extremely rare, but there may be something I've shared that in 3 years we'll look back and go, oh my God, what was he talking about? He was way off base on that one.
We're making a list.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thanks, Santa. So, as you begin to discover these myths, and you discover lies, you discover inaccuracies, falsehoods, whatever, okay? And you begin to share those things with your tribe, your family, your friends. How do they usually receive it?
Poorly, at best.
So when you told all your friends, hey, we're supposed to keep the law, they went, great, we're in. Right? That wasn't your experience?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, in my dreams, right? So it's not that they're dumb, okay? It's not that they are, purposed against you or something like this. In some cases, but in some cases not. In some cases, it's simply there is a cultural mythology that is in place that is so strong and you have already went through this process, to question that makes you question your very identity.
It's a paradigm shift that's a big ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a stronghold. It's what
it is.
Calls a stronghold.
Absolutely.
What
That
does he call it?
stronghold. So a stronghold is a mental position about something, right?
And spiritual.
And spiritual.
Yeah, because immediately we aren't saved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you have a cultural myth in place, the people in that culture fight to uphold the myth.
Maintain.
They want to maintain status quo, okay? Because that gives us safety, and it makes my identity safe, and who I am safe, okay? When you tell people, well, did you know that all of the early believers in America, none of them kept Christmas? And if you tried to keep Christmas, they would tax you for it and put you in jail? No, that never happened. Here's the book. Here's the exact quotes from the books. I can show them to you. No, that's wrong. Okay, so what's going on? The cultural myth, they're trying to, what can I say, to hold on to the cultural myth. Even though you have a fact in front of them, proving it wrong, they're going to fight for the cultural myth. Okay? So we have to understand that the church also has cultural myth. Okay? It is an entity, an institution, and it will fight to uphold the cultural myth. Maintain the status quo.
For the religious myth.
Correct.
If you start challenging all of those things we think about God, then
Who's God?
Then we have to challenge more things about what we think about what God said or did, and that's frightening, and all those things we hold very dear, because They're precious to us.
Yes.
They give us comfort
And stability.
and
Yeah.
we think we're right about A through Z. So if we're not right about all those things, then
What else are we
yes,
wrong
and
about?
Yes.
it challenges everything, and it's very frightening.
Yes.
The idea
So
is too frightening to want to consider. I'd rather be safe.
the end result is that I'm standing on water with Jesus, and there ain't nothing left, and that's really scary, because once you take your eyes off, you sink. And so, and again, 80% of the population are guardians, which naturally lean
Or
guardian personality types, right? So they already lean towards status quo. They don't naturally want to change, where other personalities are totally fine with changing and adapting, type thing, right? Yeah, same thing.
And it's really frightening to come up against who you as a person really are.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? If all of this is wrong, then who am I?
Mm-hmm.
That is baseline, and it's scary.
Most people don't want to navel gaze that deep.
Nope.
Yeah, there's too much lint.
foundational to your self-picture.
Yeah.
To your self-concept.
Yes. So, can you think of what are some myths in our culture as we're Americana? Okay, what are some myths that we've grown up with in Americana? We're free. Yes, this is the land of the free. Okay, so now, are we more free than most other nations? Sure. That's why they want to come here and we're not going there. Okay, but are we actually free? No, we're as much slaves we've discovered as anybody else is, right? Okay, what else?
More so because we think we're free.
Yeah, because we're not admitting it, right? Okay, what else?
You can be anything you want as long as you dream it and work hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can.
Yeah.
Some can.
But not everybody can.
Yeah.
No, I can't. I tried to be like Albert. Can't do it.
Eat more carbs, man. You'll get there.
Okay, baby.
So, okay. Anything else?
That our presidents, especially Washington and Jefferson and
Lincoln, even Lincoln.
So-
Abraham Lincoln were not who you think they are.
Okay. So how about so Washington didn't cut down the cherry tree?
Oh, of course.
Right? See, but that's just cultural, but we're still teaching it in the books that Washington was this guy and he cut down the cherry tree and blah blah blah. It's just myth. It's story. Yeah, he couldn't tell a lie. It's just story. Okay.
Story.
Huh?
Children's story.
Yeah. What else? Let's
We went to his house in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
He has a cherry tree in the driveway.
nice. So that wasn't the one he cut down. That clearly wasn't the one he cut down. So how about in terms of religion and faith? What's some church mythology?
Easter, Christmas.
Jesus was
Okay.
born on December 20th.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Jesus was born on December 25th.
And he rose on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Rose on Easter Sunday. How many wise men were there?
3.
Only 3, yeah.
3.
3 guys wandering through a desert with bandits. This makes a lot of sense, right?
With an entire army.
Yeah. This was an entourage. It was not 3 guys on camels, right? How about the 3 guys on camels showed up on what day?
December 25th.
December 25th, yeah, because that's what the nativity box says.
Yeah.
That they were there, right? When the baby was there, not when he was a toddler. Okay. Okay, others.
So all sins are the same, and all you have to do to be saved is to believe that Jesus is God and died for your sins, and then there's nothing else you need to do.
Okay.
Okay, I couldn't hear that. What was it?
So Jesus died for our sins. All sins are the same, and now you don't have anything else to do.
You're done.
Right.
You've complete.
Once saved for always saved.
Once saved, all. See, so there are lots of these theological positions, and it's just part of the church culture, the church myth. Okay, and what we have to understand is that when myth is involved, you personally can't take down the myth. Okay. And understand, it's not that the person's necessarily pissed at you. It's that they're fighting for the myth to be true, because that's what we all do with myth. Okay? We all fight that the story is true because it affects us personally, right?
Yeah, in most families, there's a story about
Grandpa.
yeah, or this or that. My family was, my cousins are the Custers. That George Armstrong Custer was.
Oh, I love custard.
Probably not true.
Yeah.
Although, if you look at some of my actions, you might think it.
Possible.
Is that a hill you're willing to die on?
I usually run into things that I don't really take note of. Right? I just go,
So let's think about Moses for a second. Okay, where did Moses grow up?
In Egypt.
In Egypt under.
Pharaoh.
Do you think that Moses had some SMU myth, cultural myth, that he grew up with?
Yeah, a lot to get past.
Okay, so what did God do with Moses to help get rid of that myth?
Stuck him in the desert for 40 years.
Stuck him in a desert as a shepherd for 40 years.
And here I'm whining about 3.
Yeah. And in that process of becoming the shepherd, all of that mythology slowly starts peeling away. Pharaoh isn't who I thought he was, right? The Egyptians their gods are the wrong gods, okay? All of this cultural mythology had to be peeled off of him, and God gave him 40 years to work through all of that stuff, because it probably hurt, right? And then I don't know, maybe it took 10 years, maybe it took 5 years, and then it took, another 20 years to rebuild the new mythology into him, right? Maybe it's, maybe they're parallel courses, type thing, that it happens at the same
burning
time.
bush has a tendency to shake up your cosmology.
Yeah.
what does?
The burning bush
Oh, yeah.
has a tendency to shake up your
Hello.
cosmology.
So did he query? Just did he have to learn Hebrew in the desert, or did he
Learning Hebrew in the desert with a book with no
or did he
name.
already speak Hebrew?
Good question.
Is there any-
My guess is he probably knew it,
Yeah,
but that's just a guess on my part.
Because,
at that period of time, children nursed until they're 3 or
oh, that's right.
And he was with his mom at that
Yeah.
point,
Mm-hmm.
for that
and
time.
by that time, most kids can talk.
Plus,
Think
that
so,
many
just
people
talk
in
to
your
this
land,
one.
you would think rub shoulders at some point.
So,
We begin.
as another example, a couple of us have been talking about this last couple days. So let's go back to the 1940s. Okay. Hitler is in power. Okay, we're all living in Germany. What is the cultural mythology going on in the fatherland right now?
1940?
Let's say 42. We're a couple years into it.
The Jews are the problem that's holding us back.
Okay.
We're the Aryan race who are better than everybody else.
We're the master race. We're better than everybody else. Excellent. What else?
It's our right to go and get more elbow room.
Okay.
Hitler will lead us to the promised land, basically. Didn't use the word promised land.
Sure.
We're the new Roman Empire.
You
Yeah,
bet.
Third rate, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
How are the people feeling about this?
Pretty good.
Why?
I hope. They haven't had hope since World War
Okay, so they were demolished in World War One,
I. Boy, were they.
right? They've rebuilt. Now they're a strong nation. At that point, they are the seat of Christianity in the world.
Absolutely.
America was not the seat of Christianity at that point.
Oh, man.
Right? Okay. They are the Christian nationalists of that day.
Huh.
So, the people have hope, right? And this guy with a lot of charisma comes out. And did he have small crowds or big crowds?
Giant crowds.
Giant, enormous crowds of people cheering this on. Okay?
Not only that, he walked through France. There was no war, really. He walked through Belgium.
Austria.
He walked through Austria. So he did, and Poland was
He
the first
performed
time
miracles.
anybody said, hey, wait a minute. So the people were seeing that, yeah, we must be the master race because nobody's going against it. Italy joined them. Spain joined them. Japan joined them.
Now we're controlling basically all of Europe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay?
They own most
And
of
if
the
these
oil.
crazy English and Americans would just come into line, we'd be in great shape.
Right.
Americans were in line. Americans didn't want to be a part of the war. They were vastly opposed to
We got brought into it, right?
because Japan screwed up.
Yeah.
Henry Ford and
And lost it for 'em.
who's the guy that flew across the ocean?
Lindbergh.
Lindbergh.
Lindbergh were big promoters of Hitler and
Mm-hmm.
in Germany. Lindbergh went over and saw the planes and everything else, and he came back and told the American generals,
And his
if you
dad
go to
was-
war with them, you'll have no chance, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
But he admired
They had a military industrial complex that was ramped up, and they could understand that, and they looked at it and they said, yeah, we're not there,
yeah.
right? Our industry is not where they're at right now.
Yep.
And we had a big ramp up to get all that to happen, right? Okay, so the people, again, think about the people in Germany at that time, okay? They are now fighting for the myth. See, they believe in the myth and they're fighting for the myth. Now we're 1944.
And it's got a two-front war, and they're losing.
They're losing, but what does the government come out and say?
Just one more push. Just one
Yeah,
more
we're
push.
winning.
We're winning.
Well,
We're-
Hitler's telling
gonna
his
win.
generals that he has all these super weapons working. They got the jet, they got the B-2. I mean, it's all going to take care of everything.
So what does that do to the society?
Promotes a myth more.
So, okay, so myth, we're winning, right? Okay.
Nothing's changed.
And so everybody's still buying into it, even though in reality,
It's clear as day that they're getting
they're losing, right?
Sounds like something that's happening right now.
Interesting, right? It's almost like the world repeats itself.
Isn't there a war in Europe that we're winning right now? Definitely winning. We just need a little bit more money.
A little bit more will take care of it, right? So, again, my point with those are just to bring forward examples in history, okay, where this cultural myth takes over, and then to try to fight the cultural myth is impossible, right?
It's a revelation from God.
Or the absolute destruction of the society so that there's nothing less. The invaders move in and they go, okay, I guess we were wrong. Somehow we were wrong about this. How did that happen?
The Russians and the Americans roll into Berlin, and they're going, oh, I guess we lost.
What happened, right? Yeah. And then
And the leadership actually knew it.
Mm-hmm.
The leadership actually did know it. Hitler didn't, but the leadership did.
And so kind of in almost an inverted way, you could look at the death camps. So all the Jews are in the death camps now, and the guards have left, but they won't leave. Why?
It's a trick.
They're like
It's a
an animal
trick.
that's been
So
caged.
they have their own mythology going on, sub-mythology, inside the camp. The gates are open and you're free, but we haven't been free in years. If we go out, they'll kill us. It's a trick. So then they stayed inside, and we had to convince them we've won. It's over, right? And again, like, you know, PTSD up the yin yang here.
It's a trauma response.
Yeah, yeah.
So the leaders who planned the death camps and were in charge of them, like Mengele and Ralph and Eichmann and those guys, there is absolutely no question that they made it to Venezuela, Chile, Uruguay, and Paraguay. They have documentation of them there. Mengele got married again in Uruguay. And yes, and yeah, so it's, and who's to say Hitler didn't up there? There seems to be some evidence. I'm not totally, but he used body doubles, so who's to say he shot himself?
Yeah.
They had a plan to get out. I mean, they had.
That's the part of the leadership actually knew it was going on.
Yeah, that the rats were leaving the ship long before the last day.
Sure.
So, but can you imagine, back to your point, can you imagine, this is kind of gross, but can you imagine townspeople near some of those places that Eisenhower ordered the townspeople to go pick up the dead bodies?
So as part of that, they would argue those aren't death camps over there. Right? Because they couldn't believe and fathom that's what our government was doing.
Who would do that?
I mean, it's so awful, right?
When you're picking up somebody's body and dragging them across to a grave,
Mm-hmm.
can you imagine the shock in your mind that everything you believe goes wrong?
Exactly.
It'd be like we find out that Jesus never rose. That would be that kind of shock.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Sure.
you just, oh, that can't
There's
be
still
possible.
people who don't believe that the death camps were a thing.
Right. You bet. You bet. So when we look at this, so again, my point is comprehension and understanding here, with eventual compassion, is to say, when we bring this information to people, this is what they're going through.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we want to make a rational argument with them, because we were taught to do this in church. We're going to defend the faith. We're going to use apologetics. We're going to have a rational discussion here. And once you've won the fight, they will just agree and they will be Torah observant. And it doesn't work that way. That's why everybody gets upset. And we keep giving rational arguments. And we've been taught to do this. We've pulled the emotional side out of it. Now, flatly honest with you guys, this is a rational guy telling you need to be more emotional. Okay? I mean, you have to understand the irony of what I've had to go through to get to this point. Oh, man. Yeah. He would somehow use me to tell people we need to look at this emotionally. That's just bizarre talk. So I'm learning in this process as we look at like evangelization and we talk about these things. The way the church evangelizes and taught me and others to evangelize is we go make these arguments with people. Okay? As opposed to what I'm discovering is I can wear tzitzit places and people come up and ask me what they are, right? I can put Torah on my license plate and people come up and they go, what's that? Who threw that at me? Pam?
I didn't.
Yeah. I know.
wanted to, but I didn't.
So I can do things in my life. I can keep Sabbath and people come by and wonder what's going on, right? Why weren't you there Saturday? Oh, well, I don't do those things on Sabbath, right? Simple conversations like that. I don't buy and sell on Sabbath. Why not? I decided to say heck no to consumerism. And I take one day a week off and I say no to the big corporations. And everybody goes, well, that's really cool. You know, they don't argue about that because everybody hates the big corporations. They're a perfect enemy. Okay? So how we say these things and how we engage people in these conversations is vitally important to winning them over. But it is not about... now, Yeshua can walk up to a Pharisee and make a nuanced, rational argument with a Pharisee because they're both scholars. That's not what we're doing. We're not talking to scholars. We're talking to our friends. We're talking to our families. Okay? We're not just having a rational argument. So we cannot make it devoid of emotion and how meaningful this is to them.
Or to me.
So why not express what I went through and how it hurt me to go through the process to engage them in a deeper conversation, as opposed to, well, you're an idiot, you're not doing Sabbath. Well, that never changed anybody. It didn't change you, right? That wasn't what changed you. But when I talk to people about, I love Yeshua, he's my bridegroom, and I want to do things for him just like I would do for my wife or my husband, that I just love them and I want to bless them. We're having a completely different conversation at that point, okay? Because now we're having a conversation that engages the whole person, and I'm not necessarily ripping down myth in front of their face as if this is somehow not going to hurt them, right?
Well, you have to wait for someone to have a question before you can give them an answer.
Yeah.
If you're giving answers that you want to give them before they have the question that wants that answer,
Yeah, that's good.
then they're not going to have the capacity to engage with that.
Yeah.
They're just going to think you're selling something.
So
Actually, when I came back to Eugene, I had to sit down with several of my friends, former friends, now friends again, and apologize for that very thing. Only not in those words, but to get them to trust me again that I hadn't gone off on some LSD trip.
so
now the playing field's even, I can come back and reprocess it.
mm-hmm. I've been doing this. It started out as a business course. I got back. I'm getting up at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Got nothing to do, so why not study something else? And it was designed for a salesman to sell things. Okay, and it talks about as a salesperson, how do you engage these people that you're talking to buy your product and stuff like that. And for me, growing up and with my personality and different things like that, I was a wallflower. I sat in the corner, watched everybody. I was not an extroverted, go talk to people, make friends. I was a loner, all of that kind of stuff. So other people, I would sit in awe and watch them. It's like David and Nita. We go down to the bar, and we're sitting having dinner, and every person that comes in the door, David starts talking to them. I'm just like, how do you do that? Like, how do you engage people like that? That is not like the desire of my heart to just start random conversations with people. And so I started delving into this. And so I want to encourage you guys with this. So to start a conversation, you start by saying something vague. Don't tell them what you know. Don't tell them you have the answer. Now, that may be true, okay?
You might actually have the answer.
But that's not the point, okay? So you start by saying something vague. So, so last week I was in Mexico. Did you know that?
No, what were you doing in Mexico?
Oh, it was great. Just had this beautiful vacation down there.
Well,
Where'd you go? Where did you go?
I was in Cabo. It was amazing. Have you ever been to Cabo?
Not yet.
You need to go, sister. Yeah, it's quite the place, right? So what happens is over time, by starting vague, it allows them to ask questions of you. Now you've hooked them into asking questions, and you say something else. And now you have a dialogue instead of a monologue. Okay, but the church taught us to have monologues. Here are my 15 points that start with the letter P that you need to know today so that you can go out and tell your friends about Jesus. There was nothing in that about them asking a question. Okay?
Or wanting to know.
Or even wanting to know, yeah. But you can, so the old saying is, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink, but it wasn't the whole saying. The last part is you can salt his oats.
But you can salt his oats.
Yeah, so we are called to be the salt, right? And the way you salt people is that you give them vague answers. And when you give them a vague answer, they will then process that and wonder, oh, what did he mean by that? Where was he in Mexico? And then they ask you the question, well, where in Mexico were you, right? What were you doing in Mexico?
Did you really go to Mexico last week?
No, I'm thinking about like Christmas time, but yeah. But see how it asks the question? It begs the question, right?
He didn't go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Liar again.
That liar.
Well, see, if I have a question of you, I'm interested to know what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're telling me stuff, and I didn't ask you a question, I didn't ask you about that. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
You're dominating my mind right now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
I want to talk about something else.
Yes. So I wanted to kind of seed this in you guys as we go along with the week, as we converse with each other, as you leave from here and go converse with your family and friends. We need to break this cultural mythology that we've grown up with, that we need to tell everybody everything, and instead actually be vague. And in being vague with them, you are salting them to ask you questions.
The thing gives you an
Huh?
opportunity to
Instead of assaulting.
So yes.
Get off. Yeah. Get off
So
Facebook.
you wear the tzitzit and they say, what are those? You keep Sabbath and they say, where were you? Right? You didn't eat the pork chops. How come? Right? Just be you and be vague. And that will encourage others to ask questions of you about your walk. Make sense? Okay? All right, we're going to pause this here.